or good evening, depending on where you're tuning in across the world. Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. This is the mobile version. I'm on my way to work. I'm going to, in a minute, get mobile here. Guys, I'm a retired NYPD detective, as you all know, and we are covering the Orrin and Orson West case updates. Jacqueline and Trezell West have been taken into custody. As we know, last night I was live when it was breaking that the arrest warrant, the arrest affidavit was out. I didn't have the information that they were arrested because they weren't in custody while I was live. Subsequent to that, they were taken into custody just a little bit outside of Bakersfield, within that confines of Kern County. We saw a crime scene unit, trucks, evidence collection teams. We're going to have Ed Wallace chiming in on this. At the scene, they had a white RV that was taken into custody. So there's a lot of moving parts in this case, but now we know that both Trezell and Jacqueline West are in custody and charged with the murders of Sincere and Classic. So that is the breaking news this morning. Unfortunately, in California, they do have the death penalty, but Gavin Newsom, the governor, on March 12th of 2019, Governor Newsom announced through an executive order a moratorium on imposing capital punishment in the state of California. So you could thank your wonderful governor, Gavin Newsom, for putting a halt on and a moratorium on the death penalty. So there hasn't been an execution in California since 2006. So there we have it. These two, at best, when convicted, will face, obviously, life sentences in prison, in a state prison. And we're going to hear more of what's unfolded. We're going to hear about what has unfolded evidence-wise, but we're not going to hear everything. And I want to emphasize this. Again, many people, David Osaka, great to see you. Thank you for everyone joining. Many people are going to be chiming in on this, but the law enforcement, the prosecutors in Kern County are not going to be releasing the shop. They're not going to release all of their information. So I need everybody to please be calm. Everybody, please concentrate on what's important, and that's bringing justice. 411 now. Thank you so much, Will, for being in here. And thank you for the super chat. Good morning, sir. Thank you for covering this case. Thank you for everything that you do. So again, what's most important is prosecuting these evil monsters who savagely took the lives of both Orrin and Orson West, Sincere and Classic. And that's what's most important, not gossip, not conversation about who did what, because the prosecutor and the investigators are not going to leak out everything that they have, whether it's all circumstantial evidence, whether they have partial recovery, whether they have Jacqueline and Trezell speaking about this crime, or they have a witness, or they have someone who has close information inside. They're not going to release any of that because they need to have a successful prosecution. Okay, let's not forget about what the prize is here. The prize is bringing justice for Sincere and Classic, and having these two spend the rest of their lives behind bars. That's the best we could shoot for, due to the fact of the state of California and the way that they are looking at their death penalty. We're going to have criminal defense attorneys and experts chime in. I'm going to reach out to my friend from the prosecutor's office in Queens County, and we're going to cover this. But I want you guys to understand, just like everything that we do here on Crime Time with DutyRon, it's going to be done with respect and dignity towards the family of these boys. So we need to let this all settle in and give them a chance to mourn the loss of the boys. And before we start getting into the nitty-gritty and the horrible details, I personally will not be delving into graphic details of what happened, because that is disrespectful in my eyes. I, along with all of you, have covered this case for over 14 months. And I said this to you, the long arm of the law, right? The long arm of the law is something that never stops. The long arm of the law is always working. And when I flip these handcuffs out and I show you the clicks, and I do this, some people cringe and don't like the way that sounds, But when I do this, I know from doing this job that sometimes these cases take a very long time to come to completion. And you have to have patience. You have to have patience, folks. And if you don't have patience, then you will be frustrated, you know? So again, California moratorium placed on the executive order from March 12th of 2019. Governor Gavin Newsom imposed the moratorium on capital punishment in California. So again, these two, upon conviction of the highest charges, would face life in prison ×2. Thank you, Shannon Candela. I appreciate that. California is a wreck, but you know, I call it as it is. I don't sugarcoat anything. That is the fact. You can go and read about it. These two will not be charged or sentenced under the under California's capital punishment law, which is still federally on the books. It's just the governor put a kibosh on it. And there's so much controversy and so much you could read all day long about it. But again, you know, these people who are responsible, and I don't even like to refer to them as people, these savages, these murderers do not deserve to breathe the air that we breathe. They need to be locked in a cage behind bars. Justice for Sincere and Classic, absolutely. So again, let's respect the families, the Roro, the boots on the ground, and all of the people of the community, and everybody who has been emotionally, physically, mentally invested in this case. You know, again, we work so hard, keeping the billboards active, you know, talking about this case month after month, day after day, people speaking and keeping their faces out there. So we have a lot to be proud of, the community here at Crime Time with DutyRon, and some of the great communities that are out there speaking and talking about it. Keeping these boys out there in the media, having their faces on Highway 99 every month, month after month, is unbelievably invaluable. Okay, here you know, we don't know if that contributed to closing this case. We don't know what led up to their arrests. We don't know what evidence they have, but all we know is that they are in custody and they're no longer free to move about the area of Bakersfield. It really blew my mind that they were able to walk around and be undetected. I've never seen their face, a camera put in their face. I've never seen them out at the supermarket. I've never seen them anywhere where anybody has ever questioned them like any further from that interview that Bayan Wang and Perla Sheehan did from KGET and 23 ABC. That was the last we saw of them, and it was just mind-blowing to me that they were able to go and get undetected. But yes, our law enforcement, again, I stand strong and proud of them, of the jobs that they do silently behind the scenes. Now, I know a lot of people who are here in this chat and who will review and watch this replay have mother effed the police and talked bad about them and said that they're not doing their jobs. But here we are, March 1st, yesterday, 8 p.m. California time. These two were taken into custody. I got to start driving, so I'm not going to look at the chat. Please, Jolene and the mods, just keep an eye on the chat. Anything that's disrespectful, just take it out. Don't even acknowledge it. Again, I got to drive, so I'm not going to be paying attention to the screen until we get to a red light. But I wanted to just say thank you to everybody who has contributed, everybody who has faithfully supported the efforts for the billboards for Orrin and Orson West, Sincere and Classic. You guys are just an unbelievably tremendous asset in the true crime community here on Crime Time with DutyRon. I love you guys tremendously. I want to also say that it's important that we all keep keep a cool head, speak respectfully, because guess what? Roro, the biological parents of these boys, are going to be watching. People are going to be watching. And you know, your words have high impact. So let's now, concentrate on mourning the loss of these boys. Now we know they are not alive. We know that Sincere and Classic are deceased. They were murdered. Their adoptive parents stand charged, allegedly charged. It is alleged that they are responsible for their demise. And we got to let the justice system, the prosecutor, take over. And the wheels of justice, they now have to get in motion, which they are. They're moving. We're going to hear stuff, but we're not going to hear everything. So that's the thing I want to concentrate on with you guys, is the education now of the criminal justice process. It's sometimes a slow, tedious process, but they need to have all the parts in place. They need to dot their I's, cross their T's. I got to take care of that. They need to dot their I's and cross their T's to make sure that Trezell and Jacqueline are successfully charged and prosecuted. We need a guilty verdict. We need the jury to say guilty and send them straight to the cage, straight to prison, where they will live the rest of their lives in a cage, and that's where they belong. They don't deserve one good day, as far as I'm concerned. So again, I don't do many of these live streams where I'm driving. Again, it's important. I felt I was up all night last night. I got many phone calls, many messages, and I want to apologize to some of the people who sent me messages, and I just couldn't get back to everybody. I was up until, I think I got 3 hours of sleep total last night, and it was all talking about the boys. With Brian Wang called me. We were texting back and forth. I had several other media outlets that were communicating with me, and some of my very closest people who have been with us from the beginning of Sincere and Classic, communicating with me, and I couldn't go to sleep. My mind, by a show of hands, how many of you folks lost some sleep over this and shed some tears? I'm going to put my hand up right here. I shed tears after my live. I lost sleep, like maybe 3 hours of sleep. I'm putting my hand up. Again, lost is not alone. We stand to that. Dave Rader and Twyla Cisco, they both reached out to me, and we were texting back and forth. So it's just been a lot of emotions for everybody. And if we're going through it, if we're going through the motions and emotions, think about Roro. Think about, Sincere and Classic's parents. Think about what they're going through, the emotions that are running through their heads. It's so difficult. And to anyone who's given Super Chat, thank you so much for that. I know 411 now has sent in a Super Chat. I'm going to keep you guys updated on this. As things come out, I will have the professionals come on, as we know, as we do here. I'll have the professionals come on to speak about it. We need to speak to former prosecutors and see what's going on. And, again, we need to have, California does their grand jury indictments up front. So before these arrest affidavits or warrants were issued, there was grand juries that were convened, and they do it a little differently. So the indictments and all that stuff are done up front, but we definitely need to see these folks convicted and brought to justice. Last night it was news broke that it was just Trezell that was getting arrested, and it made me think initially that Jacqueline was cooperating with the district attorney, that she turned on him. It's common in homicide cases and in heavy cases that significant others, boyfriends and girlfriends, husbands and wives, they sometimes turn on each other. We saw that happening right now in the Thomas Valva case. Coincidentally, I'm driving right past Justina Zupko Valva's home in Valley Stream. I'm driving right past it right now as we speak. I drive past every day on my way to work. But in their case, you saw a husband and wife who was arrested, and they are both going against each other. So Angela Polina is pitting herself against Thomas Valva's dad, Michael, two evil monsters. Jacqueline was arrested, and it's not been confirmed, but alleged that they were both. Some footage last night, I saw it on a couple of the news outlets and a couple of the YouTube channels. They were on scene there. I saw Roro talking to a news reporter. I believe it was Justin. And she was talking to him, David Kaplan, actually, and she gave him an interview right out at the scene there. So there was a couple of news outlets and some YouTube channels. So kudos to everybody who was there. I don't think anybody physically saw Trezell and Jacqueline being placed into custody, but we know that they are booked in to the jail, which is good. So that's what's happening in this case. Lieutenant Pranzo, good to see you, boss. Thank you for joining. I'm at a red light, so I could see the comments now. Yeah, we hope, Candy Ortiz, that she starts talking. Kim Queen, thank you for joining. Hello, Fuzzy Doxy. Heidi Zip, joining. Again, much appreciated, Tennessee girl. Listen, these cuffs that I put out before, there's many other people who are waiting to have a pair of these bracelets put on them. And, you know, Summer Wells is still outstanding. It brings me back to that thought that, you know, Don is in jail, Ken is out. They've got to be thinking, when is my turn? When is it going to be my turn? So this may have some significant impact, at least emotionally and mentally, for Candace and Don when they are, believe me, trust me, they know. Trust me, they know that this happened. I don't think anybody in the United States or outside the United States haven't heard of this case and haven't heard of this breaking news. So trust me on that. You better trust and believe that Candace and Don are now sweating a little bit more because they're looking at, okay, these two adoptive parents have been running free for over 14 months and they didn't get arrested. But guess what? The anvil came down. The judge's hammer came down. The handcuffs came out. And now they have a pair of matching bracelets and they're inside the Kern County Jail. So I again tip my cap, even though I don't have a cap, I'm tipping it to law enforcement in Kern County, Bakersfield, California City, feds, state, local, everybody that's involved in this investigation. And you know what? Some folks in the chat might say and argue, maybe Wanda West, maybe the grandma is going to get locked up. Maybe some of their cousins and some of the other relatives will get locked up. It's a possibility. Anything's possible. We don't know. None of us have access to the case file, you know. So again, folks, it doesn't matter. We know that lawyering up doesn't make you exonerated from justice. Just because someone lawyered up, and it was alleged that early on, Trezell had an attorney. It was alleged early on that Trezell West lawyered up. Guess what? That didn't mean anything because now he's in handcuffs. You could lawyer up all you want. It doesn't mean that you're going to get away with murder. Just remember that. Some people get fixated on, oh, they're lawyered up, they're not going to talk, they're not going to get charged. It's not always the case. It's not always the case, folks. So I wanted to come live because there was a lot of stuff that developed since I went live. You could look at my last live. I'm going to pin it down below in the description from last night. You can see that coverage. I will be, if new information comes out, if there's a press conference or new information out of Bakersfield, which I hope today that there will be a press conference from the Bakersfield Police Department. If that happens, I will cover it and talk to you guys about what they spoke about. So yeah, it's a mixed bag of emotions. Marta Faye says, I'm happy and I'm sad at the same time. You know, the emotions are mixed because we all, by a show of hands, who here held on to a slither of hope that these boys somehow were trafficked or were given to somebody or bought or sold. By a show of hands, who was holding on to a slither of hope? But I know in my mind, I knew that in my heart, my detective sense said to me that these boys were no longer alive and that they never made it to California City. I stand to that. I stand true to that. And so does Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff. Sergeant Bill and I have done extensive videos, and I was reviewing just yesterday, early during the day, I was reviewing my live stream that I did with Mark Class from the Class Kids Foundation, and Mark Class said it well. You know, most of the time, the parents, and he looked at the video of Jacqueline and Trezell, and you should go over to check out that Mark Class from the Class Kids Foundation. He made some heavy statements, and so did a lot of other friends made some heavy statements about Trezell and Jacqueline West, and we all knew that their statements were hogwash that they put out. It was a despicable, it was a joke. When I watched that, you know, I've seen that interview hundreds of times. I watched it over and over. I said, you know, immediately, it's hogwash. They are lying. That's a made-up story. It's a bad story. Everything about it stunk to high heavens. I said that Jacqueline swaying back and forth was a sign of guilt and a sign of nervousness, and I got crushed for that. People like, that's just a way of coping. That's a grieving mother of, you know, her child just ran off or was kidnapped. How dare you, DutyRon? I'm telling you, I got mother effed up and down for some of my opinions on this, but my opinions didn't come just from some couch, you know, from some, you know, sitting back in my chair and playing detective. My opinions came from actual experience with bad people like this. I've been around evil for 2 decades. For over 2 decades, I was around evil. I saw how these people act. I saw how bad guys would look you straight in the eye and tell you, I didn't do it. Meanwhile, we had footage or witnesses that had them stabbing or shooting somebody or, you know, or beating somebody. And they would look you straight in the eye and say, I didn't do it, you know? So, listen, man, I mean, it doesn't take a body language expert to figure out that their story was bullcrap. That was pretty clear and evident right from the get-go, you know? So I hope that each and every one of you will support the surviving family, the good people who are, again, fell victim to the system. Again, you know, use of marijuana in a lot of states is legal, but unfortunately, these boys were taken away because of that and maybe some other circumstances unknown to us. But as it seems on the surface, it was just something pretty minor. But California, the child welfare system decided to take them away, and here we are. We have to always, you know, say to ourselves, the onus is on the family to take care of their children that they, you know, biological mom, biological dads are always, you know, you always have to say to yourselves, do the right thing. But listen, here and now is not the place or the time. We are where we are because of Trezell and Jacqueline West. Evil, evil, sick people. You know, again, my heart breaks for everybody that is affected. My condolences, my prayers, my positive vibes go out. You know, we have to keep them close, and we have to keep them in our thoughts and prayers. This is just devastating. If it's devastating to us, complete strangers, people who have no contact with this family and with the extended family, if it's hurting us, could you imagine how it's hurting them? So prayers and strength, positive vibes. Paul Peck Drywall is in the building. Good to see you. Thank you for joining, Paul Peck. I am motoring about, so I can't really see the chat. I'm coming up to a red light, so I'm thinking that I could get to the chat and say hi to everybody. Hi, Gerda. South Africa is checking in. So I want to tell you just a little bit of something that was so strange. Yesterday, I talked to Jackie, who does the chapters for me. Jackie Vineyard. Jackie Vineyard and I spoke for about a half hour yesterday, and we talked about a fundraiser to sell t-shirts for Sincere and Classic to keep the billboard moving forward in the 2022 season. There was many, many hours of brainstorming about fundraising to keep the boys' names out there, and it was happening just yesterday. During the day yesterday, Jackie and I were on the phone, and she was coming up with ideas on how we can fundraise money for the boys and have people buy shirts. And we were going to make some custom shirts for 2022, and that was all conversation yesterday. So it's funny how, you know, these boys are always on our minds and we're always talking about them. And just yesterday we had a conversation about doing a fundraiser for these boys. But I want to say that you guys are unbelievably just, I don't even know, I can't even find the words to say how unbelievably blessed and amazed I feel for what you guys did over the course of 14 months here on Crime Time with DutyRon. We have spent and sent in over $14,000 for Sincere and Classic for those billboards. I have all the receipts from Lamar Advertising, over $14,000 because of you guys. I'm at a red light, so I'm able to see and talk to you. You guys have sent in $14,000 plus to go straight to the boards for Orrin and Orson West. So tonight or tomorrow night, I will have a prosecutor and an attorney who will come on and speak about second-degree murder in the state of California. I know it. I read it. I am not going to speak on it because that is not my expertise. So I'm going to reach out today to a former prosecutor in the county of Queens, New York here. And I'm going to either have a conversation with him or have him join us live to explain murder second degree in the state of California. But we know that they will not be charged with capital punishment. They will not be sent to death row because they do not impose death sentences, the death penalty in California. It hasn't happened since 2006, folks. So we have to hope and pray they get convicted of the highest charges and that they go straight to jail for the rest of their natural born lives. They're in their 30s, right? I think I saw he was born in 1986. So they're in their 30s, right? They're in their 30s. They get sentenced to 30, 40, 50 years or 2 life sentences, 25 to life. It's a wrap, folks. They're not getting out. Don't get yourself in a tizzy. Don't get yourself in a panic over this. If convicted of the highest charges, they will, and I'm confident that they will never see the light of day ever again. And that's what we hope and pray for here in 2022. Now, how long will it take for that process to go? There's many different factors that will come into play of how long that process will take to happen. It depends on the evidence. It depends on, you know, everything that is around this case. So if we have a Chris Watts situation where they both say, yeah, Emily says general population would be great. Thank you for the super chat. If we have a Chris Watts kind of situation, in other words, where these two defendants just come out and say, all right, I'm pleading guilty. We did it. We're not going to fight it. We did this. Sentence us. Guilty as charged. If that happens, we have a quick sentencing, a quick disposition. But I don't see that happening. I don't see it happening. I hope it happens because that will save a lot of anguish, mental anguish and torture for the families, for the community, for everybody involved. Don't forget, the detectives, male and female, who work this case have families. They are emotionally involved in this too, right? So these two, as I don't care how much conversation you guys want to put up or hear or have people talk about, they, upon conviction of both of these charges, will never get out and be able to breathe the same air that we breathe. So I rest comfortably knowing that, but I worry until we get to that point. I'm always worried that there could be some type of loophole or something that a very slick snake oil salesman to criminal defense attorney, and many props to all my friends who are criminal defense attorneys. There's a need for them out there. There's a lot of wrongfully accused people. There's a lot of people who stand charged with things that they didn't do, and we need criminal defense attorneys. We need them. So much props to Joe Murray and some of my friends who are out there in that field. But barring any kind of mistakes or any kind of screw ups by the prosecution, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed for the boys, for our boys, to have a successful prosecution. That's what we need to support. We need to support the Kern County District Attorney and everybody who's involved in this case, and get behind them and make sure that everything is done the right way. They dot their I's, cross their T's. Nothing gets leaked. No bad information that could spoil a prosecution gets out. So everybody who likes to be a jabberjaw and rubber gums and put out all kinds of crazy information, or even if it's information that's valid, putting it out early can really hurt this case. Who here wants to hurt this case? What I want to see is a successful prosecution. These animals, scumbags, go straight to jail and be locked behind a cage for the entire rest of their pathetic life. That's what I want to see. And to the family of Trezell, who put up those blogs and said that their family is being tortured and that they are innocent people. Listen, I get it. You look at Brian Laundrie. His parents protected him and defended him by hiring an attorney. They didn't talk, but the West spoke. And to them, I say, if you didn't have a hand in it, it's your son. It's your son who did this. It's his wife that did this. If you didn't have a hand in it, you're not murderers. But again, we have to say to ourselves, people who are responsible need to be held accountable. We don't have to attack the family. We just have to say to them, listen, now that this is on the table, they get convicted. Condolences to the family, the biological family. That would be the right thing to do. Who knows what they're going to do? At the end of the day, folks, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you who has supported Roro, biological family, the law enforcement, everybody who has done good deeds. There's a lot of good people who donated thousands of dollars. Hundreds of thousands of dollars have been put up for reward money. Those people, I want to say thank you. Anybody who engaged and held. Listen, we all make mistakes. We all say things that we have regrets about. For those of you who mother effed the police and had, less than nice things to say about everybody that was involved in this, we now have a piece of humble pie to eat. We now have a big piece of humble pie to eat because we all jump to conclusions and get frustrated. It's part of human nature. But I want to just say thank you to everybody who has had faith in myself, in the criminal justice system, in the law enforcement part, in the part from the district attorney and the prosecutor's side. We got to have faith in them, and let's get behind them. All right, man, love and respect from my house to yours. God bless the world. God bless the United States of America, and God bless each and every one of us here in the chat. But especially sincere and classic, Orrin and Orson West, and all of the people of Bakersfield, the great people who supported the biological family of these boys. They need us now more than ever. Let's pray for them. Let's continue to pray for peace. We have a war going on in Ukraine. Members from all different countries are there. Let's pray for peace for the people. And I'll see you guys tonight. We're going to be alive tonight. We're going to be talking about this case. We're going to cover it, and we're going to do it with the professionals. Thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate that. Dr. Moskowitz, thank you for the kind words. Appreciate you. Just looking over quick. Patricia Ray, thank you for becoming a bronze member. Consider subscribing, becoming a member of this community. Share this video, like it, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate you. I'll see you on the next one.